All right, let's get started. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today's Meet the Small Business Liaison webinar. My name is Alex Salas. I'm a business development specialist and veterans liaison for the OCIE district office. If this is your first time with us, welcome. We're glad you're here. And for those who continue to support and participate in this series, thank you for coming back and staying engaged. Our special guest today is the Space Force Space Systems Command. This series is designed to help small businesses like yours connect with both federal and non-federal agencies. Our goal is simple, is to bridge the gap. If you're interested in procurement, you may be asking questions like, where do I start? How do I get connected? How does my business fit in the process? This webinar is here to help you get clear answers, stronger connections, and a better path forward. Again, like I said, my special guest is the Space Force. Please welcome Mr. Aaron Parra, Director of Small Business Programs, and Matthew Chartier, Deputy Director of Small Business Programs for the Space Force Command System. Thank you for both being here. Thanks to everyone attending. Thank you for joining us today. And before I hand it over to Matthew and Aaron, just a few housekeeping items. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat. We'll address those questions at the end of the presentation. All microphones are currently muted. And that being said, I'll pass it over to Aaron and Matthew.
Good morning, everybody. I'll kick it off. My name is Aaron Parra. I'm the Director of the Small Business Office at Space Force Space Systems Command, headquartered in El Segundo. The Small Business Office covers all of the activity taking place here in El Segundo, along with Vandenberg Space Force Base and Patrick Space Force Base at the Cape in Florida. We do have several other pieces, but I wanted you to know that in terms of small business representation, we're here in El Segundo, in Florida, and at Vandenberg. I'm going to hand it over to Matt. He's going to be leading the presentation today. Matt's been fantastic. We brought him over from Edwards. He has a lot of experience in contracting and working in the small business office. To give you a little bit about my experience before I turn it over, I was actually with the SBA for approximately 11 years, between 11 and 12 years. I was the procurement center representative. So in that sense, some of you may have met me before. I certainly see some familiar names. I'm not going to call anybody out and embarrass them, but I know some of you in the meeting today, so it's nice to see you. Matt, please take it away.
Absolutely, Aaron. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Aaron's being a little modest, but I've learned everything from Aaron. And so he is the SME, and so don't let him fool you here. But yeah, Alex, thank you so much. I appreciate SBA inviting us here today. A lot of people don't know that we're right in their back door here at El Segundo. And so Alex, can you start the presentation? Appreciate it. So today we're going to give you basically a step-by-step guide on USSF here at SSC. Next slide, please. So it's kind of funny that the first day that I came here to SSE, I said, "Hey, Aaron, where's the team?" And he looked around and he said, "This is the team." So do more with less, and that's exactly what we're doing here. We currently have Aaron Parra, like he mentioned, he is the director here, and I am the deputy director. We both sit here actually on base here at the Los Angeles Air Force Base. It's funny because I always stutter on that because I want to say Space Force Base, but the general said we're not going to change the name. We're going to change it once, and that's it. So it's Aaron and I, and then we have Leah. Leah's been here for over a year. She is extremely intelligent. She's out at Vandenberg. She deals more with, she's a small business professional, but they deal with more construction over in that area. We had Patrick Space Force Base down in Florida, but unfortunately, Sherry Richardson, she took the DRP, and so that's currently vacant right now. And so if you have any questions about Patrick Space Force Base, you go back to the team, which is Aaron and I, to ask those questions. And so responsibilities, a lot of people say, okay, so you guys are an Apex Accelerator? That's not true. No, we are not Apex accelerators. Instead, we are 100% government-funded employees, civil service here with Space Systems Command. And so we deal with Delta 1, which is LA, Delta 30, which is Vandenberg, and Delta 45, which is Patrick. And so if you wanted to get more information, you ask people about the deltas. And so we're, instead of Apex Accelerator, Apex Accelerator is more or less, it's, hey, you know what? My workflow is not working, or I need help trying to get a GSA schedule or around those lines, they don't have as much of a contracting background. Like Aaron mentioned, I came from Edwards Air Force Base. I was there for 13 years. Time flies by, and not aging myself, I started when I was 23 there. And I did the Coppercat program. I did 5 different branches of contracting there. It's from enterprise contracting to research development contracting. I was contracting officers. They would always say, hey, we're at the front lines. And so I didn't want to be at the front lines anymore. And I said, you know what? I'd rather feel like I'm making more of a difference by getting my face out there and helping contractors like yourself, especially 8As, the socioeconomic category, contractors, small businesses. And so now I deal mostly with just FAR Part 19. And speaking of FAR Part 19, our responsibilities include reviewing all acquisitions. It used to say 10,000, but it just changed the micro purchase threshold. See, you're going to get something out of this to 15,000. And so we deal with everything over 15,000. We also deal underneath 15,000 if there's other issues with that, but mostly everything over 15,000 up to the billions. And I say billions is because we deal mostly with satellites too. So obviously those aren't very small contract dollar amounts. We're advisors to the acquisition team to ensure strategies and structure to facilitate the small business participation. So Aaron and I, we love to say this, that we're the cheerleaders in the background. People don't know that we exist. We're the SBPs, small business professionals. We're the ones that before it's posted on sam.gov, or you might have a question looking at the acquisition and say, why is this being posted as a large business or a full and open, right? And so we're the ones that are advising PK before we go to the SBA PCR that, hey, you know what? Probably be in our best interest, being that we have 2 or more small businesses, to make this a 100% small business set aside. And so we're the ones that actually get some of the say in that, a lot of the say in it, matter of fact. And so there, yeah, we're your cheerleaders. We're rooting for you guys there. We coordinate with the SBA, like I said. We negotiate yearly prime contracting goals. That deals mostly with Aaron. Aaron is facilitating between SAF SB, the Secretary of Air Force, which is at the Pentagon. He's the one that's negotiating those goals for each year. And also we educate industry on how to do business with SSC. So when Alex said, hey, do you guys mind facilitating this? That's exactly what our job description is to help educate you guys on how to help better prepare yourself, which opportunities are coming up, etc. But Alex, next question, next slide. And so introduction, I hear this all the time, is that you should always research your customer before reaching out to them. And so researching your customer, this is the perfect opportunity to better understand what SSC is all about and where our requirements are. So research your customer. We're going to tell you about our top NAICS, DODACs. A lot of people don't even know what a DODAC is. And so if I was a small business, I would really want to know exactly what a DODAC is and what SSC's DODACs are. How to search for opportunities, our FY21 small business goals, where was the money allocated mostly to, and where to find requirements. So next slide, please. So research your customer. SSC. A lot of people think, okay, Space Force, you're just Space Force, right? You guys are located in Alabama. Incorrect, right? And so we are actually the Secretary of the Air Force down to the Chief of Space Operations. And so there's 3 major ones. And so like the Combat Forces Command, a lot of people don't know this, is that Space Operations Command, that one's out in Peterson, Colorado. A lot of requirements come out of there. And so they recently, November 5th of 2025, they just changed their name over to Combat Forces Command, and they actually changed their whole logo on that one. And so that's their new logo. And so Combat Forces Command. We are Space Systems Command, and so we're the middle one there. And then we also have Space Training and Readiness Command. So I have a lot of companies that will come to me and say, hey, we provide training, we do this. Well, you didn't research your customers so much because you would know that Space Starcom is where those opportunities would be located more. Next slide, please. And so I'm more of a visual person, so I'm kind of like, hey, where are you guys located? And so Los Angeles, obviously California. We are also located, I remember Delta 30, which is Vandenberg, and Patrick, which is Delta 45. However, I also get requirements out at Boulder, Colorado, of all places, right? Large acquisitions come out of there. They do a lot of uh, ASP meetings there. A lot of requirements come out of that area too. But Peterson, if you guys were interested more in the CFC, that would be located in Colorado Springs. Next slide, please. So NAICS codes, I get this question all the time. Matt, where are your top NAICS codes? Because I want to see if my company aligns with what you guys are asking for in your requirements. And so these are currently as in last week, when I updated our slides, these are currently the top NAICS codes that we have. For even this year, I say our top one is 517410. And so I don't know if you guys will provide these slides, Alex, you can decide that. But if I were you and this was my company, I would say I'm going to take a snippet shot of these. These are the number one top NAICS codes that we have currently. So next slide, please. So Department of Activity Address Code. What is that? That's your DODAC, right? This is the number one way I say a firm or small business could be successful. And a lot of people don't think about this, right? Your DODAC. That's supposed to say 6-digit code. It's the very first 6-digit codes. If you ever had a contract with the government, go back and look at that 6-digit code. The 6-digit code is the very top, the very first 6 digits on your contract number, like Edwards Air Force Base, right? They are FA 9300, FA 9301, 9302, 9303, 9304, and 9305, right? So those top 6 digits, after a contract is awarded, they go into a system called FPDS. The contracting officer will, or contract specialist will go into that system, and they basically, in the snippet shot of a one-pager, tell exactly Congress where the money went. So this is an easy way for Congress to find out which office awarded the contract for which requirement and where did our taxpayer money go. And so those DODACs tell exactly not just what Space System Command did, right, but which office within Space Systems Command did it. And so offices usually range between 5 people in the office for contracting to I've seen them as big as 30. Especially for operational contracting. And so DODACs, you really want to know what the DODAC is. And so if I were you and I was watching this presentation, I'd be like, okay, cool, I know what a DODAC is, but what are they? Do you have them? Next slide, please. These are our DODACs. And so if I were you, once again, I would take a snapshot of these. These are the ones that you really want to know. And so just SSC, my office alone, to show you how big our office is, I came from an office at Edwards Air Force Base, California, with only 5 DODACs, right? Between the research development, operational, enterprise, contracting, to 17. We have 17 different offices within SSC. And so some of these are actually in Boulder, Colorado too. And so, yeah, no, these are them between FA 8811 to FA 2553, which I see a lot. FA 8815, I've seen a lot also this year for PKL. And so those are the ones for SSC. And so these are for LA, Delta 1. Delta 30, like I mentioned, Vandenberg, right? FA 4610, they only have one DODAC. And so that basically it cusps everything within one contracting office. And so if you want to do more work at Vandenberg, I would go into sam.gov, look up that DODAC, FA 4610. So the caveat on that is, once again, foot stomp, right? Like a DAU course would say, is if you are going to look for a opportunity, use these DODACs. These are the very first 6-digit numbers in a contract number. So FA 4610, if you got an award, it would be FA 4610 dash the fiscal year, which would be 26 dash whichever office it is, and then whatever category 4-digit number at the end of the contract number would be. And so I know that's a lot of information for this. Just remember the DODACs. And then obviously Patrick, Space Force Base, that would be us right now because it's currently vacant, FA 2521. Next slide, please, Alex. And so, okay, within those NAICS codes, Matt, which are the highest, I don't know, expenditures? Which ones are you awarding the most? And so, as of right now, we are doing professional, scientific, and technical services. Now look at operational, right? We only have what 1% here. If you saw if you saw our base is literally Aaron would know. What, not even a square mile, like square footage. It's extremely small base, and so because of that, obviously our operational contract would be much smaller. However, our primary metal manufacturer, which is on the bottom left there in the orange, is much higher. And so, next slide, please. And then you would look at the DODAX for, remember the CFC, which was previously SPOC, Space Operations Command, out at Peterson, Colorado. They have a lot of requirements also. And so they only have four DODAX there. And so take a snip of that. Next, please. And then where are they buying mostly? They're buying roughly the same stuff as us. Probably the biggest difference is between the administrative and support and waste management at 3%. But mostly it's about the same between the orange and the blue for the professional services. Next slide, please. And then Starcom, hey Matt, our company does training. Where do we start? Well, you should start with Starcom. And they only have one DODAC, FA 2549. Next slide, please. And so a lot of people say, Matt, where where's your requirements? Where are most of your requirements posted? And a lot of people do not like this answer is sam.gov, right? And everyone says, no, 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 there has to be more to it, right? For some reason, sam.gov is actually our number one area that we post most of our requirements. I'll get into other areas that we post a lot of our requirements, but sam.gov is. Next slide, please. And so a lot of people know this, but I just want to um, foot stomp it more on how to search, right? A lot of people say, I'm looking for your requirements. I'm not seeing your requirements. I've talked to several contractors and they said this is the best way for them to find requirements here at SSC. And there's two different ways, right? Within the next 3 slides, we'll show you. So typing in one of our top NAICS codes, which is 334511, right? You click search, and then you can save those searches. A lot of people don't know you can save those searches, right? Or have it ping you when your saved search actually comes up as a requirement that was just posted. And so you can do 334511, which down on the left-hand side, click all words, right? You can keep it. You can narrow it down by federal organization. And then a lot of people say, this is an RFP. Make sure that you look at the notice type. Like in this case, look, it's an updated sources sought and a notice of ID. Um, yeah, no, we'll go into that a little bit further. Next slide, please. A lot of people are getting this this problem recently, as in notice types and solicitation numbers. A lot of people are confusing RFQs with RFPs, RFIs with sources soughts, right? And so just wanted to let everyone know that the SAT dollar threshold has went up to 350,000. And so better for small businesses because they can get awards quicker, faster under FAR Part 12 and 13. And so an RFQ is saying, hey, it's a competition based on dollar value, which is more of an LPTA, lowest price technically acceptable. However, RFPs can be LPTA also, or mostly a cost contract under FAR Part 16 and 15. And so RFP, RFQ, just wanted to foot stomp that, hey, there is a difference, and that's the problem that we're running into. And I wanted to say 50% of the time, sources sought and RFIs are posted incorrectly, right? There is a difference between a sources sought and an RFI. Um, this analogy is the only way I can think of it is between a macro market research strategy and a micro market research strategy, right? And so if you go on sam.gov right now, I guarantee you can find a lot of RFIs and sources sought posted incorrectly. An RFI is more of a macro market research principle. And so an RFI is when a contracting officer like myself says, you know what, we have this requirement. It says we need to get water from a pipe into a sink, right? This is the analogy that I think of. Well, you being a contractor, small business, you would say, you know what? That RFI is posted correctly because you're trying to think, okay, there's different ways of getting water from a pipe into a sink. I can use a bucket, I can use a faucet to control the pressure of the water, that's an RFI. A sources sought is on a micro market research strategy. And so that's when the government says, you know what? We know exactly what we want. We know the number of items that we want. We don't want a bucket of water. We want a faucet, and we want 300 faucets for this sink. And so that's a sources sought. A sources sought, no, the government knows exactly which way and what strategy they want. And so just throwing it out there. And then another problem that we're recently having is that Aaron and we receive, it's called a DD 2579. It's basically a two-pager. SBA is extremely familiar with this one. And so basically it's us telling SBA, this is the strategy that the contracting officer has, right, for this requirement. However, their market research is attached to the strategy on which way they're going to do the requirement, the contracting officer. However, a lot of contracting officers recently are posting sources soughts on sam.gov, and they're getting no responses from small businesses. And a lot of reasons for that, I talked to small businesses, they said, well, there's not really money attached to the sources sought. They're just doing it for market research. But that market research is giving them a better idea on the defense industry base, DIB, on what they can provide. If there's no small businesses that respond back to a sources sought, then unfortunately, when you go back to sam.gov, you might see that same requirement posted months later as a full and open because the contract officer is telling us, hey, look, there was only one small business that responded to a sources sought or one company that responded to an RFI, one small business. And so the rule of two isn't really in this applicable in this case. And so if you ever see a source sought or RFI, please respond back to it. Another strategy that I've heard is that when I was a contracting officer, I would get small businesses that would respond back to my sources sought and say, you know what, Matt, we can provide those faucets or professional services. And so what happens is uh, um, they'll respond back to the sources sought, but they'll actually attach their capability statement, which is ingenious, right? Oh, don't say you heard this from me, but the contract officer will have to send over the sources sought responses to the requirement owner with your attached capability statement. And so that's one way of getting your capability statement, your one or two pager, into the hands of the requirement owner. Just throwing it out there. That's what I would do if I was a small business. Next slide, please. And then going back to searching by DODAC, a lot of customers that I've had said, Matt, thank you so much. Looking at it through the DODAC is so much easier. And so like, let's say you're doing professional services and you know exactly which contracting office within SSC you want to do work with, you would type in their NAICS code, type in their DODAC, save that search, have it ping you when that requirement gets posted. And so rather than going through the endless amount of information on there, right, from all of the DOW agencies, you would look at this and say, you know what? This works. And so just throwing it out there, you could take it for 2 cents, but if I was a small business, this is probably the way I would do it. Next slide, please. And so FY25 small business goals. A lot of offices, what I've noticed is they don't really provide this information, but it's all public knowledge. This is all our taxpayer money. And so we are looking at this. This is current, and we actually love the color green here, just like every office. SBA loves green, we love green, and obviously small businesses they love the green, And so looking at this is that we reach each one of our categories this year. If you go to the next slide, it's a little bit easier to look at. Where did our money go? We reached our goal for small business, small disadvantaged business, SDVOSBs, known small business, and Hub Zone. I get questions all the time. Hey, Matt, SDBs, do you guys do a lot of 8As direct awards? Vandenberg does. They do a lot of direct awards up to 100 million for Indian, Hawaiian, and Alaskan tribally owned companies. And so, yeah, no, these these are the categories. We do a lot of direct awards for SDVOSB and WSB. And obviously our hub zone, like every agency, that's going to be the lowest, but 80 million to hub zone, that's pretty good. And so we're patting ourselves on the back, Aaron and I, on this one. Next slide, please. So support to industry. A lot of people said, okay, you know what? I want to do more work with you guys. I want to talk to the project manager. I want to talk to the technical team. Where do I go? Right? Support to industry. And so you should always start with SSC front door. And so a lot of people don't know this. And when I say it, a light bulb goes off. And yeah, no, this isn't, it's public knowledge, but a lot of people don't know this, right? And so there's SSC front door, right? SSC front door, you can do as simple as a Google search right now. You can open up another link to this Teams meeting and type it in right now. Just type in SSC front door. I believe it's the first, yeah, no, it should be the first or second link there within Google. And so SSC front door, you click on it. And what's great about front door is they're trying to make it from people going through a window, a back door, the garage, but you should go through the front door. And so if you can go through the front door, you click on this website, there's only one button to click really, and it's connect. And so you can see it right there, the yellow one on the bottom left of the screen here. Click connect, it runs you through a 3 or 4 page different questions. Hey, what are you looking for? What do you provide? And it's not if you're going to get an answer back, it's when you get an answer back. There's a team of 12 individuals. MJ is their top contractor representative there, and they'll actually be at the event for next week. And speaking of events, is on the top right corner of that SSC where it says home, about, events, frequently asked questions. If you click on events on that SSC front door, they are great at finding any single event out there for the yeah, DOW. Yeah, no, they have different ones from all over the place. They have Army, Navy, they have us. I think it even had like some Coast Guard events on there too that I even know of. They have the Hub Zone event coming up. And probably the most important event of them all is Space Industry Days, and that one's next week. I know the timeline's kind of short here, but yeah, no, that's next week. It's at the Marriott. It is next Thursday and Friday. It's right across the street from LAX. And what's great about that is it's not if we shall go, it's shall we go. And so you have almost every single agency and office from the Los Angeles Air Force Base there. You have even the history office there. You have public affairs there. You have the technical team there. You have the PMs there. You'll have Aaron and I there. You'll have Leah there. We'll have our own booth. And so what's great about that is they tell you about future requirements, current requirements. The 3-star general will tell you the path forward on what they're seeing. You can meet all these people firsthand. And so that's one of the giant events that we attend. It's the biggest event of the year. This year was a little different due to the shutdown. It's always held in October, but obviously things were, there's a wrench thrown in there. And so we're doing it this month in January. Another big event that we always host, or not host, we attend is Navy Gold Coast. That one's in August. We are located down there in San Diego. I highly recommend you going to Navy Gold Coast. Aaron and I will be there. We usually always have somebody from SAF SB, Secretary of Air Force, Small Business, from the Pentagon that will be attending that booth too. And so those are the two that if I were you, I would definitely go. Another event that Aaron and I will be attending this year is next week again. Right after the holiday there on Martin Luther King on Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll be attending the SPEC program, Space Enterprise Consortium. That one will be next Tuesday and Wednesday. What's great about that is if you're interested more in research and development, more cyber contracts, that is, and it's provided through an OTA, and so it doesn't follow the FAR base, and so you can get awards much faster, much quicker. And so that one's the SPEC program. That is next Tuesday and Wednesday at the Marriott, the same exact place. And so you could kill 2 birds with 1 stone, attend SPEC and Space Industry Days. Also on the top right, where Alex is hovering over, the small business office, we actually have our own website. A lot of people don't know that. And so we have our own website. It tells you about our office, understanding more of your customer. Like I recommend that you should understand your customer more. And so next slide, please. And then this one, a lot of people don't know. They'll come to our office and they say, hey, you know what? I do more on the research development or have this great idea. You should always be looking at AFRL. And also you should look at AFWorks and you should look at SpaceWorks. SpaceWorks, we have a great working relationship there. And so if you need more point of contacts for SpaceWorks or understanding different events that are coming up, Aaron and I, we hosted a event last year in February, and the event was the subcontracting forum. And Aaron was the one that actually set it up. And what's great is I came from Air Force, right? There's a lot of requirements there that small businesses can do. However, with Space Force, how many small businesses can provide a satellite? Currently, there's only two companies in the United States that can provide a satellite. Being that satellites aren't very cheap, they usually run about $1 billion plus on there, right? And so we understand that. However, there's a lot of small businesses out there that can provide one or two increments, three increments to that satellite to help build it, right? Well, these large companies, especially Northrop Grumman and Lockheed, they have subcontracting goals. Subcontracting goals are needed anything over $900,000 worth. It went from 750,000 to 900,000. That's just one of those numbers that you guys should always think of. And so currently, we have a subcontracting forum. We hosted it at Spaceworks. We'll probably do it again this year, but for the potential furlough that we might have on January 31st, we're currently holding back on this, okay? And so we are not giving a firm date yet. We are hoping, do not hold me accountable for this one, especially if Aaron's on, but we were thinking maybe in March of this year. I would highly recommend it. The reason why I recommend it is because you'll have the SPLOs there. They're called Small Business Liaison Officers, and those are from the major large business companies, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, the large ones, right? And they'll go up there and they get up on stage. And what was great is they say exactly what I would want to hear is these are our requirements that we have. We're looking for more hub zones, and these are the future acquisitions that we're going after. Please let us know if you'd be interested. And then the next contractor got up there and they said the exact same thing, or a different thing, or what they're looking for, or how to become a supplier for Lockheed. Through those to reach their subcontracting goals. And so they are searching for you. It's just you need to get your name out in front of them. They have a different process than the government. But yeah, no, if you want to be a subcontractor, I would definitely reach out to us. I'd probably say in February to see if that is still happening. We should be doing it. Actually, it's not should, we shall be doing it, Aaron and I. So look out for that. But yeah, no, this is a great one. Remember that there is a difference between AFWorks and SpaceWorks. AFWorks is for Air Force, but because Space Force still falls under Space Force falls under Air Force, that SpaceWorks is basically another branch off from AFWorks. And so AFWorks, I just went up there to Rome, New York, which is really an incredible place. If you guys ever get a chance, go up there and go take a tour. But yeah, no, that was AFWorks that I dealt with. SpaceWorks is right here in El Segundo. They call it the bridge. And so you can always look up more information on that if you guys are interested in SIBR 1 and 2s. Currently, right now, I don't know if they are having any calls for 2s or 1s right now, but I can always get you more information. Next slide, please. Requirements. Matt, do you have your current list of requirements? And so this is the part that a lot of people don't like hearing is that Army and Navy, amazing, right? Amazing about having their future requirements, even 24 months in advance, right? Us, we don't have a list, and Air Force does not have a list of future requirements. They have expiring requirements, which I've heard come from some small businesses saying, you know what, if it's a 5-year IDIQ, obviously they're going to start recompeting that about 4 years, after the contract was awarded. And so you could use your strategy of doing it that way. However, we do not have a list of requirements. But what you can do is that I heard DAF, Department of Air Force Small Business at the Pentagon, on that link on the bottom left here, Department of Air Force Office of Small Business, they currently are making a link on there where you can click business opportunities and it pops up on Excel chart. And so what they're trying to do right now, since last year, they're trying to get this to where the Navy and Army are at for future requirements. And so you should always continuously look at that website and say, okay, is it up? Is it updated? Is it updated? I've been doing the same thing, trying to make sure to see that, hey, is it updated? What's great also with that link while we're talking about it is that's a way that you can locate your small business professionals in the United States. And so from there, it's super easy. Click that link. It says locate my small business professional. You click on it and you can actually hover over LA Air Force Base and see Aaron Nye's name on that. So that's one way to do it. Oasis Plus, I want to say a lot of our requirements are getting posted on that within I think there's 6 pools now. I could be mistaken, but yeah, no, that's a great way of looking up. A lot of our requirements are getting posted on Oasis Plus. So if it's not GS or if it's not SAM.gov, it's Oasis Plus. But a lot of people are saying, well, Matt, no, like those are already awarded schedules, the contractors are already awarded in those pools. The key word there is on-ramping. And so they have it where they have on-ramping opportunities. I've heard some of the companies that I've recommended say, hey, you might want to look at on-ramping. They have been in the process of on-ramping into those different pools, small business pools, women-owned small business pools, even the full and open pool. Spaceworks, great, amazing. If you're looking at SIBRs, they have calls. That's exactly where you want to go. A spec program that's a SIBR, but it's through an OTA, and so it's not FAR-based. They award stuff much quicker, much faster. There's 10 contract officers on that team. They'll be presenting next Tuesday and Wednesday if you're interested at the Marriott. See if you can still register. If not, attend next year. And SDA, a Space Development Agency. SDA is really interesting. They have a bunch of requirements on that website too. It was really easy. I checked yesterday. It looked like they took it down, but the requirements were so straightforward that you could go on their homepage, scroll down to the very bottom, and it was here's our requirement, here's our requirement, here's our requirement. And so SDA is another great way to look at it. There's also RCO, which is out at New Mexico. If you want more information on that, or you want to give yeah, no, RCO. You can look that one up too. That one's not on this slide, but look up RCO. That one's out in New Mexico. Next slide, please. So, Alex, I've been talking the whole time, just going back to this there's Aaron, myself, Matt, and Leah. You guys want to know, if you want to meet the team, this is the team. And so it's just us three. And Leah, I would reach out to her especially if you had any operational contracting. It seems like 50% of the requirements they have is operational. They do more 8A direct awards. Yeah, no, so that's the path forward. But Alex, off to you.
Matthew, thank you so much for a lot of this information. You answered a lot of the questions that we already had established to get the ball rolling. We do have a few right now. Which contract vehicles do you primarily use in our past Space Force engagements? Most opportunities flowed through Oasis Plus. As a small business, we can't be on every vehicle. Are your OTAs posted on SAM.gov or elsewhere?
So a lot of the OTAs are awarded through these large MAC contracts that they have right now. So the OTA doesn't really follow the synopsis requirement, sources thoughts requirements. And so a lot of the OTAs are posted on SAM.gov and they'll be posted one time, and so that's the answer to that part of the question. But yeah, no, I understand Oasis Plus. It just seems like every other requirement for the D2579 that I get, they're like, yeah, we're posting on Oasis Plus. Yeah, we're posting on Oasis Plus, which the FAR says that they should be using GSA, FAR Part 8, before posting on SAM.gov. And so a lot of the requirements are getting posted on Oasis Plus. If it was me and it was my business, I would figure out how to get on Oasis Plus, do your on-ramping, with Oasis Plus. Yeah, unfortunately, just like everybody, I really wish we had a requirement list because I would not hold that back from anybody, but yeah, the requirements are the requirements that I just see on my desk. And I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't even know we had this requirement coming down before it's getting posted. out there. And so you can always reach out to me, especially for like a meet and greet. That's what we do, Aaron and I. We usually do virtual 30-minute virtual meet and greets. And so if you have like a special scenario, you're like, hey, my company does this and that, like which path do you recommend? Well, that's part of our outreach, right? And so, yeah, you can always reach out to me. You guys probably have my email. It's matthew.chartier.2 at us, or sorry, at spaceforce.mil. And so you can reach out directly to me and say, hey, Matt, I'm going to take you up on that. I'd love to do a 30-minute meet and greet. And we can go through your scenario, see which path forward you want to do. And so, yeah, if you want to get more on the awards on OTAs, reach out to me and like we can discuss it, figure out a better way of connecting you to different requirements. Hopefully that answers the question, right, Alex? So,
Yeah. Well, more questions about Oasis Plus next week. We have GSA and Apex as the webinar. So Anthony Caruso is going to be our guest from GSA. So that's a good question to ask him, and how you can get ahead of the game as far as contracts are coming down the pipeline, and how is Oasis Plus going to help you be successful. So if you're available next week, please join for that webinar series. One more is the OTA event next Tuesday. Where can we find more information about it?
or next Tuesday, the OTA meeting, that is, it's called the 2025, because they had to switch it due to the shutdown. Once again, it's a 2025. It's called SPEC, general member meeting. And so, yeah, you could click on that. Yeah, Spec Enterprise Consortium. You can become a member. They have a bunch of different trainings that they have on that. I would say it'd probably be in your best interest, especially if you're looking at OTIs. Look at the spec program. A lot of people don't know it exists. I've heard a lot of companies being extremely successful doing it that way. And so, yeah, no, look at spec. Spec is, I'd say it's the way to go. It really is.
Great. Questions here. What is the most common mistake small businesses make in proposals or quotes, and what can they do to improve win probability?
Could you say that one more time? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Alex.
So, what are the most common mistakes small businesses make in proposals or quotes, and what can they do to improve
The
in your
most
experience?
common mistakes on proposals that they have. Not following sections L and M. I would say that's probably the peanut butter spread of that. Just an easy way for them not to. They just they don't follow the section L and M, especially when I was a contract officer. That was the biggest mistake. If another big mistake is that companies, if they come back and they say, hey, we have some questions about your proposal, just don't say, and I've had this happen a lot. Contractors will say, it's whatever you want. Whatever the right answer is, that's exactly what we can do. And they'll say, oh, can you complete this? And they have mentioned that, yeah, no, we can complete it, and so that's not, you gotta do your work. You really put your work into it. It's extremely rewarding. Just like I mentioned before, please respond back to the sources thoughts, even if it's like, yes, we are very interested in this requirement. Here's our capability statement, our two-pager. Unless they're on the sources thoughts, sometimes they'll say you need to respond back to a 2 to 3 page, reasoning why you think you can complete this. Absolutely do not take my advice and just say, yes, we can complete this. But yeah, any response back to that, they have to put that in their market research, which gives Aaron and I a flag, and we'll say, hey, this small business was interested in this. There's 2 small businesses. Like, why are we making this full and open? The rule of 2 here. And so SBA is extremely on board with that with us. And so yeah.
Great. Thank you, Matt. What cybersecurity or security requirements should small business plan early, handling control unclassified information, and what is the realistic timeline to get compliant?
Alex, you're not gonna like this question or this answer.
All right, we need the truth.
it seems like the security requirements vary extremely in between all the different requirements. And so there's not just like, once again, a Piro spread answer to this. You're gonna have to look at sam.gov, read it thoroughly on exactly what the security requirements. What is happening right now is a lot of requirement owners here at SSC, you hear this from me, right? Even though this is a recorded line, they're putting too much security requirements on different requirements on uh, requests for proposals. And so if you are a small business and you believe that, hey, these security requirements are just crazy, like crazy amount of security requirements that they're asking for, that's where you would reach out to your small business professional, Aaron and I, and say, you know what, we don't agree with how they're posting this, and the security requirements are really actually putting a burden on small businesses. And that's probably the reason why they're not getting so many responses back from small businesses. And so if you believe like, you know what, this is hurting us as a small business for these security requirements, reach out to us and we can actually reach out to the team, and they'll take us pretty serious, and we'll say, hey, like, can you give us a reasoning why you have this much security clearance or requirements on this? And so if I were you, I would keep that tool in my back pocket and say, you know what, I'm going to contact my small business professional, Aaron and I, if we don't see something that looks right, or it's keeping us from proposing. And so I don't know if
Okay.
they answered the question, Alex.
No, it's good because it brings into the next question is, when does it make more sense to prime versus subcontract? And what does the Space Force look for in effective teaming agreements?
And so, teaming agreements, uh, we have a great companion from SAF SB. And so if you want more teaming agreements, you'd reach out to us and say, hey, Matt, do you have a better point of contact for teaming agreements? Reach out to us. Out at SAF SB, we have a great guy there. But when should you subcontract instead of primary contract? If you don't believe you can complete 100% of the requirement, then you should probably look at subcontracting with a large business here, or yeah, teaming agreement with a small business. And so looking at it, a lot of times is I would I would never say we think we can complete only 95% of the work, right? And so if you can't complete 100% of the work, you're really not considered a contractor that can complete the work, 100% of the work. Yeah, so a lot of times do not respond back to sources thoughts or requests for proposals or RFQs if you cannot complete, all of the work. A lot of times they'll come back and they'll say, yeah, we can complete part of the work, which is understandable because we are buying satellites. Like, I don't expect every company to be like, oh yeah, I can just make a satellite in my garage. And so I've seen a lot of success through subcontracting. Yeah, subcontracting. And that's why I was saying you should definitely come to our subcontracting forum here in March. Hopefully it's March there. And so you can reach out and talk to the SPLOs. And the SPLOs were, they each one of them had a different way on how you can become a certified subcontractor through like Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin. And so I didn't know it was that intensive, but their subcontracting plans can actually almost push you over the limit of, hey, you're not a small business anymore, which is a terrible, great thing to have. And so, yeah.
Right. Thank
Alex,
you. That's great because, again, joint ventures, mentor proteges, they come into play to help you. If you don't have the security clearance, the bonding, the cash flow, that to help you get these contracts. So, that's another avenue to think about as a small business, is to, team up with another business in order to go after these contracts that you can be, uh, in compliance, and is also be the one to perform, and you can meet those requirements. We do have another question: is for a company focused on electrical security systems and structured cabling, what's the most practical way to engage with Space Force requirements? Are firms like ours better positioned as primes or certain vehicles, or teaming with large primes? And which vehicles or programs should we focus on? I
so
know it's a long
electrical,
question.
yeah, so Danny, to answer your question on this, for a company focused on electrical security systems and structured cabling, I don't see that many requirements that come directly to me that say, hey, we have this electrical, component, or we have the security system. Air Force, I've noticed, is they have more of those directive requirements. I believe your DODAC on that one would be FA 9302. That would be more of your electrical security system DODACs. But yeah, structural cabling, I haven't really seen that many requirements for that. However, I do see like within a statement of work or PWS, therefore like satellites, I have seen those requirements. And so obviously if Northrop Grumman can't complete those requirements, they'll reach out to a subcontractor. And so I would say for SSE, probably the best way, just my opinion, I would say it's almost like a become a subcontractor on those. However, we did have a very large conduit requirement out there at Vandenberg previously, and so for cabling, and so they do come up, but I just say they don't come up frequently, you know. And so yeah, it's funny because I came from Edwards, right? And I came to Space Force. And so Edwards, I'm dealing with like, oh, $100,000 contract, oh, $400,000 contract, right? And now I come over here and they're like, oh, it's a $1 billion contract. Oh, now it's a $4 billion contract. And so yeah, no, I see more subcontracting opportunities, unfortunately, here than hey, I want to be the primary guru on this contract. Alex, do you have anything to add on that?
Uh, no. Thank you. Just you talked about these events, about meeting you, scheduling appointments, face to face. With that being said, what's a good capability pitch? What does a good capability pitch look like? In a short capability briefing, what do you want to see first? Mission impact, technical differentiation, cost, schedule, security, past performance. What advice would you give, or what they
Yeah,
should be having higher?
this is one of the, Alex, what a great question, because the number one thing that you should always put is like these capabilities I see all the time, and I love meet and greets, and but unfortunately, a lot of times your capability briefs, like your one pager or your two pager, a lot of times companies do not have one, their company name, or two, they don't have their cage code on there, you know, or their EID code. Make sure those are always on there. It's extremely hard for us to understand what your company does without knowing what your company is. I would say always put your NAICS codes on there, at least your top five NAICS codes and what you guys can provide. Yeah, no, I had the class with SAF SB about this, about what makes a good capability and what makes a good capability statement. Another one is point of contact. Always put your point of contact on there, your phone number, always. Past performance. We had his name was Mike. Mike would always tell me, I love seeing capabilities, technical team, and they would say we love capabilities that have some past performance. Like this isn't your first rodeo, to make them feel more comfortable. And so yeah, no, we've provide, you know, professional services through Eglin Air Force Base, and we provide, you know, professional services with Patrick, you know, like that would be golden, you know, on your capabilities. And so these punches or these briefs that you guys do, I would love to see them in person for especially at like space industry days, like the technical team there and the project managers there. Like I don't know what better way is to get, you know, like what your company can provide than in person to shake their hand right there. Like, hey, here's my one pager. This is exactly what we would provide. Please let us know. Oh, and also we're an 8A contractor, so you can do a direct award to us, you too, you know, or an SDVOSB, WSB hub zone, you know. And so that's just my pitch on that. What I would do, I would never give advice that I wouldn't take. And so if I owned a small business, this is what I would do.
Thank you, Matt. Last question, because we're 5 minutes left here, is can you share an example of a small business that successfully entered Space Force market, and what specifically did they do right?
All right, let me see. Let me see. On the pitch here, a small business that did it right. Let me see. There's a couple of them. An 8A contractor, probably the best one is let me think of their name here. Anyways, doesn't matter. They were a small business. What you should see the amount of small business I have that come through. But
Right.
they did their meet and greet. They said, "Hey Matt, do you have like a vendor database, right?" And which we do. And so that's the number one reason why you want to get yourself in front of these small business professionals is say, "Hey, one, do you guys have a vendor database? I'd love to be on it." And two, like this is what we can do, right? Give me a 30-minute pitch on what you can do. However, I will come back to you later on, right? I get a lot of PK contracting contract officers that will say, "Hey Matt, we posted this requirement, we didn't get a response back. Do you have anybody that can do this?" Especially 8A contractors. They'll say, "Hey, it's August, September. Do you have any 8A contractors that can do this?" And what happened was, yeah, this was in August. I had a contract officer said, "Hey, we have to get this awarded in 10 days. Do you have any contractors that can do this?" And first thing I'll say is to the contract officer, "Do you have a NAICS code?" They give me their NAICS code. I'll go to our vendor database, which has 2,000 contractors in it right now. And so the 2,000 contractors, I'll go through and they'll say, "Hey, there's this requirement. Would you guys be interested?" And they'll respond back to me and they say, "Absolutely. Like we can do this." I'll forward your information off to the contracting officer, usually about 2 or 3 contractors, and then I'll let them decide on, what to do that information. I had one contractor because I did a 30-minute meet and greet. They received, it was oversat requirement, and they received the award 7 days later. And so, yeah, no, that was the most recent like successful stories I can say is like, wow, I really gave a company a pretty large dollar amount, all because they wanted to do a meet and greet with me. And so, yeah, no, I want to take that lightly on doing meet and greets, Alex. And so, please get your name out there. Talk to Aaron and I, Leah, in person or virtual. And so, yeah, Alex, any other questions?
Yeah. No, that's it. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
I've been talking
I
the whole
appreciate it.
time. Hopefully I
I know,
wasn't
no,
too
I appreciate
boring,
your time. Thank you so much. You gave a lot of great answers and hopefully some knowledge that these small businesses can absorb and focus on. If this is the agency for them to go after, you know, there's path for you. There's people to contact. The meet and greet, the events that are coming up are really key for your business to grow. Um, so thank you again, Matt and Aaron, for being here, sharing your information. I think it was very beneficial to a lot of people. We will share the slides with you, all who registered. I will share the PowerPoint. That's okay, Matt? Everyone there?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And again, check out their websites. Look at the events that are coming up. If you can attend in person, any training that's available, please, participate. We do have a few events coming up. Again, I mentioned we have GSA next week with Apex. So if you have questions about Oasis, please jump on that, be part of it. We also have in the future high-speed rail. We're going to also have Orange County procurement for the local agencies. And if you have anything in mind as a federal agency that you would like to contact, please reach out to me. My email address is right here. I'll be happy to reach out to them and put another webinar series together. So that being said, thank you, Matt. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your knowledge, and good luck to everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you again. Appreciate everybody. Thank you, Alex.
All right. Bye-bye.